Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It is Thursday, believe it or not, June the 15th. This week seems like it went by in a blink, but I know that's because I was super busy trying to catch up, and I'm close. I'm still finding a few emails here and there, and mostly I'm finding comments and stuff on YouTube that I was way behind on, and those were kind of lowest priority. So I think I've about got to all of them. Hopefully so. If not, by this time, by the first of next week, I'll be caught up. But really, I mean, in the end, today was a reversal day. We traded down. You can see, and we had been trading down the day prior. So we had a little downtrend here that we finally found support, and then we reversed. We really had a trading range day because we traded within the overnight highs and lows. So in the big picture, this is a trading range day, but it's somewhat of a reversal day as well because anyway, um, we had this trend working down. We had a close outside, and look how many times it took them. It took them several tries. We really were kind of working sideways here, and we finally made a new low, and then we reversed and we trended up the rest of the day. And that's perfect price action, really. It was not always easy to see, but the great part about it was when we reversed here, or actually, let me back up. When we had our break of the down channel, this is a pretty strong trend down. So on one that strong, you would expect that we're going to retest the lows and get a new low. Well, we retested it here and found support again. It looked like it was going to reverse, and then they sold it off. We got the new low, and then we traded up from that point on. And that's perfect price action. But even on this channel, it's working up. We get the break, move to a new high, and then it comes back down again and tries that retest. Can't get it. And then you can tell people have kind of switched over to range rules here, and we had the little failed break higher above this double pop top, and we moved back down, and we finally pushed through just long enough to get that new low. Actually, let me just double check. I believe we got the new low by a tick. Yeah, you see that we there. This was our previous low right here, and you can see we went below that by one tick, and it reversed out of there after that. So perfect price action. On this little channel here, you had a little overshoot, and by this time, people were trading the range rules, and you had a little reversal here, comes back, gives you another chance to get in here, and we just continued up after that point for the day. So the price action really played out nicely. Um, this channel, but the key, I guess, backing up here, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. Even though it played out nicely, this was a little difficult because unless you recognize what's happening from really this point forward, which is a range, and you really didn't know it was a range until you knew we had some strong support down here right at this point. But at this point, I'm still looking for a retest of this low. And once this played out, I'm still looking for a retest of this low. And then by the time we got here, after it bounced again and then came back up here and failed and came back down, then you're kind of playing the range. And you can see the range would have played out nicely. So you have to be able to be flexible and change gears. And you had to be patient this morning because the only sure thing that I really saw that I liked didn't come till 9 o'clock right in here. The rest of these, I like these, but they don't fit our rules perfectly. So, I made them green. So you just had to be patient this morning. There's actually a somewhat of a reversal right here. Notice the new low, and then you get a first entry, then you get that second entry, and that's a big bearish bar. Uh, the key here is you can't go short right into that, all that right there. Uh, and normally, I would say that would be real tempting. But you had that trend line coming up, and you closed right on it, so it looks really valid. And you can't go short into that. And you really could have considered going long there, and it would have worked. But with that strong of a trend down, I'm just not going to take that chance. I'm just going to sit tight. And and I probably haven't said it lately, but one thing you'll hear me say over time is that sometimes the best trade is no trade. And just because you don't take a trade, if the reason you didn't take it was because it didn't fit the rules and it takes off and you miss a big move, well, you can't be mad at yourself because you followed the rules. Because the very next time you take that trade and thinking the same thing's going to happen, it'll fail on you. 9 times out of 10, it'll fail, but you'll get that one time that it takes off, and you'll try to recreate that over and over, and it never works the same again. So the key to all of this is that we know what's going to happen. What if you follow the rules? They work 90% of the time. So yeah, that doesn't mean that you won't miss a good trade every now and then, but it means you'll be right more times than you'll be wrong, and that's the key to all of this. You can't get it right every single time. You're gonna inevitably get it wrong sometimes. So if you follow the rules and do what you're supposed to do, you're gonna come out better more times than not. So that's my theory, and that's the way. We've proven that over and over, and we've perfected this. And you know, you might tweak it slightly to your personality, but the overall rules and what we're showing you here, you don't really change that. We've tried all that. I mean, we've done it over and over, and we've perfected it. And for you to come in and try to change it, other than maybe just some personality type changes, you're just going to set yourself up for failure because we've already been there and done that. We've already been your guinea pig and tested this stuff and perfected it over the years. So stick to the rules and stick to what I'm showing you here, and you'll be that much better off, in my opinion. So, but let's talk about the trades. It won't take long. There's not a lot of trades today. There's a few really good ones though. You hear me talk about trying to catch these reversal patterns down here, especially these failed break lowers. I wasn't so convinced this was a failed break lower here, and there's not really a good setup bar. Um, but I tell you all the time that these failed breaks turn out to be key or major low points, or sometimes high points if it's off the upside. And in this case, this turns out to be the low of the day, and that happens over and over. But the problem was when we started lower here, you don't know that we're going to reverse or if we're going to set up a second leg down that's equal to this one. And it could have easily been a second leg down. But that wasn't the case today. You got a reversal pattern right here, and they even came back and tested it one more time. And when it couldn't go any lower that time, your smart traders recognize, hey, we're going the other way. We're done to the downside, and they start piling in, and off we go. And you can see even here they treated it temporarily as a failed break higher, and but once we hit this trend line again, off it goes. And you can get that right off these three swings right here. You see it right, 1, 2, 3, and then you just drag it down. You drop it in there, and that's right where we bounce right there. So, even though it was a little, I'm trying to come up with the words to describe this. It's perfect price action, but it's kind of lingering because it didn't. Generally, you will go ahead after a trend down like this. You'll make that new low pretty quickly, even if you're going to reverse. Well, today they had to really fight to get that new low, and it switched gears into a range temporarily before you got the new low, and then it reversed into a reversal pattern and a trend and a new uptrend. So that can be difficult for people because you had to change gears 3 times a day. You had to be in the down mode, then you had to be in the neutral mode, and then you had to switch to the bullish mode. And this right here would probably fool you a little bit on the bullish mode. And so you just really had to be able to flip your hats around today. And so that makes it hard for people that that don't understand, that can't look at the chart and have years of time watching the chart and kind of understand this stuff. I mean, it can even confuse somebody with experience. It gets confusing to me at times. So it's not just new people. So I hope that makes sense. But let's talk about the trades. Again, you had to just sit here and be patient. This one right here is very tempting because this is a big downtrend. Um, it's a second entry short. Notice you got a new low there. You get your first entry, pull back second entry, a big bearish bar. But the only thing that could really say, hey, you better be careful here is that you're right into these lows. Notice all that stem. When you start seeing all that stem like that, and you got to go short right into that, that's never a good thing. Um, Especially when you're not back to the EMA yet. Because notice how long we've been away from that EMA. We're way overdue to come back. And when you throw all those things in there, and then you see this trend line, if you draw that trend line off your first two swings, and you're trying to get into that again, that's a good enough reason just to sit tight on that and skip one. If you did get fooled, as soon as it reversed, you recognize it's a trap, I would exit. I don't know if I would reverse there or not because it's right into the EMA and you may turn right back down and head down again. So it just keeps crawling up this trend line, but I'm not willing to go long in here because we've swung down 3 or 4 times and yet we haven't had a close yet until right here above the EMA. So I would want it to come back and bounce off this trend line and the EMA together, and it doesn't do that. It pushes on through and it still makes a higher low, and you get a little trap. There's a little double bottom right there, and you get that little trap where it falls shorter. And we all know you can't go short way down here. Your short was up here if you were going to take it. And so we know better than to go short down here. So when the shorts get fooled, um, you could almost go long there because you got this little channel working up. That's your first close. So you're probably going to retest that high, but because this was so strong, there's no guarantees of that. It may tick higher there and turn back down to make that new low. We're still really looking for shorts here, not so much longs. But at the same time, you got to be careful on your shorts because you do have a little channel working up here. So you got to keep the whole entire context of what's going on in mind. And, I'll say that a lot of times, and people just, they'll see the pattern and then they'll say, well, that pattern over here looks just like that pattern right here. But if you take the context of what's going on, they're not even similar. And that's why we are not pattern traders. We need these patterns. These patterns help us find the entries, but at the same time, we don't trade patterns alone. If you do, you're going to have a lot of failures. You still can probably make money trading the patterns, but you're going to have a lot more failures in the end. You'll probably lose money because you won't take every pattern. You'll take the ones that you think are good, and you'll be completely wrong. So anyway, this was the first opportunity to maybe go long, and I still don't like it for the reasons I just talked about. We're still looking for shorts here, and we still have a downward bias here. So especially with that being the break, we're going to probably try to push up and make a new high, but I wouldn't have expected it to go that strongly, that much higher. But I guarantee you, once it broke higher here and started climbing up, all these shorts and the people that were getting short in here had to exit, and that's what drove it up temporarily. And then you make a double top up here, and you had your close, and you got 2 swings to a new high. This bar right here is not a very good signal bar, but that bar right there is super bearish. So you might have considered going short there once this bar formed, but then you got to go short right into this last swing, right into the EMA. I'd want to wait on a lower high, and you don't get one. So if you don't enter there, you're not going to get any of that. So if you watch that go without you, and you're kicking yourself, stop doing that right now because you did the right thing. It's not a great setup. There's some reasons to consider it. They're very aggressive though, and it would have worked. But the next time you try that, it probably doesn't work. And so you did the right thing, as I talked about earlier. But when it bounces here, and notice what happens. Let me make this a little bit bigger. It bounces here, you get a first entry short. It pushes right through the EMA. It pulls back. You get a second entry short that fails, turns and goes up. That's your reversal pattern. At the very least, you're coming back to test this high most likely. So that's our target, our first target. Now, if it keeps on going, you might adjust your target. But when it overshoots this channel here and gives you that big bearish bar and it breaks above that double top and fails, you're coming back to this EMA most likely. And so I like that trade. Generally, you're better off to wait on the lower high, but you've got a bias, a downward bias here. You're still looking for prices to make a new low here and maybe start a second leg down. So you're looking for some reasons to get short here. You just got to follow the rules in doing so. And that turns out to be a great trade. You could ride that all the way down to the low. And same thing here if you caught it. But that one was, you got to be brave and you got to be aggressive, and it's not smart. This one, you got some other reasons. You got the overshoot. You got the failed break above the double top. So it's probably going to be a failed breakout. You're a long way away from the EMA in what looks like a trading range. Lots of reasons to consider this one. Your lower high comes here, not a very bearish bar, but your reversal pattern where your failed second entry long fails is right here. And so I like going short if you've got enough room to get out. Make sure, you got enough room to get out before you hit that low. It doesn't matter in this case. It just keeps going. But it won't always be the case. So make sure you got enough room. And you're hoping that right here you might catch the start of this second leg down. You're hoping this might be your major high point for the day, like I always talk about on these failed breaks. You were hoping this might be a major breakout to the low side, and indeed it was. And even though this is not a huge failed break high or like a major high for the day, it's still a pretty good high, because look at that move. If you catch that move right there with a contract or two, just on that, you'll make him several points. And so those are great trades. This one you're only going to probably get a scalp out of right here. And if it keeps going, which it could, you might catch a major high even right there. But look what happens. You finally make that new low. You also got a failed break lower. Again, this is one of these that's tempting to try to catch to the long side, but look how neutral that bar is there. And then even when it broke above, it comes back. So you really just don't get a good setup there. So you're better off to wait and see if it'll get back inside the range, and that will hold. And look, here's a perfect reversal pattern. You got a new low, come back, first entry, you go higher, you get a failed second entry short. It bounces right off those lows. Go long right there if you can get in that. Quick, easy scalp. It comes back. It probably scares a lot of people out, but it still wouldn't have taken your stop out here. And I probably wouldn't have held it that long. Well, let me back up. If I was going to wait on this to break higher and drop a limit order in here to see if I could get a little better entry, I'm probably not going to ride all that out to see if it's coming back. That's too. When it starts coming back that hard, there's a good chance it may be going lower. So you just sit that one out kind of. Notice that we do have all that congestion. That's just a small trading range right there. At least one of those is a doji. That's really a neutral trading bar. This one's really a neutral trading bar. So that's like a little failed break lower. It makes a higher low. It confirms that trend line. Well, actually, you wouldn't have had that trend line there, so I take that back. Really, all you're getting there is the failed break lower and a higher low and a huge bearish bar. So I like going long right there. And if you catch this one, even though you didn't get in a little earlier here, of course, you might have caught this one, but I doubt you're going to get into here. I'm not even going to mark it green. But if you caught either one of these, actually, you probably wouldn't have here. They'd have come back and got your runner on this one. But if you catch this one, your runner's safe easily, never even really checks up, and you get to ride this. You get to ride it all the way up. Your first target's going to be here, and then your next target's probably going to be the next support resistance, So that's this one. And also, then your breakout area. Notice that there's a breakout area right there. And we never had retested it, so that you know there's a good chance. And look at that line and look all the way over here to the right. And that's your retest. So that was your next target on a retest. And you actually got a pretty good sell-off there. So that's that 50% pullback that a lot of people look for before it heads lower again. And I'm sure that contributed to this pretty good sell-off right here. And notice what happens. Look how far away you are from the EMA. It's tempting to go short right there, but this is a spike in channel right here. And you did get your larger trend channel here, but I'd really want more evidence. At least I'd want to see it turning down before I'd want to go short right there. It is a long way away from the EMA. You probably are going to get a pullback to test this breakout area. There's some reasons to consider that one. That's a fairly bearish bar too. The other thing I don't like about it, I'm going to go ahead and make this green. But the other thing I don't like about it is this next bar could not break lower, and it's kind of an inside bar, but it does close on its very low. So it's telling you, 9 times out of 10, this is probably coming back to the EMA. So when you've been away that far, but you might have thought the same thing right here, and guess what? It didn't come back to the EMA. So these are risky. But look what happens. You're moving down. You get a first entry long. You're pulling back right at the EMA, right where everybody's looking for that second entry long and a bullish bar. Of course, this is your signal bar, and it's not very good. And this is an inside bar. It can't break higher. So I don't really like using that for an entry, but I guarantee you a lot of people did. And there's your failed second entry long. It went higher, and instantly turns and goes down. You know you got a trap when you see that happen. Have your sell stop right there. And that's a quick, easy scalp. Of course, you didn't get anything more than that out of it, but you never know. It might be this reversal, and we might get that next leg down. So you want to try to get in it. And we still made money. We didn't get a big run or anything. But notice what happens. You get a close outside of this trend line, a move to a new low, and where does it happen? Right where you would drag this line down and expect your trend line to be. Not a very good setup there. The only reason I marked this one green, let me move this out of the way. Notice that little 2 bar right there. With that being so small, you might want to risk going long right there and maybe starting with your stop. Your stop really needs to go below this low, but that's still only 3 ticks. So that's a very small entry, very low risk at a key entry point. So you might take that trade. I'm not going to make it blue, but you might take that trade. And of course, turns out to be, you get a pullback here, but not a very good setup. And you really don't get your nice reversal pattern here that you're looking for. And for a minute there, I was, you're probably kicking yourself thinking, oh, I wish I'd have entered there. But then all of a sudden it tries to sell off again, comes back, gives you the right setup this time. And notice you got 2 measured legs down. It is your first close outside that trend line. A nice little reversal bar. There's a failed break lower right there. It's a double test. Notice that low and that low. So now you got 2 tests of that low. It's a failed break lower. It's a nice reversal bar. It's key entry point. All your reasons to want to enter there. You do get a higher low here, but I don't really like that setup. It's probably should be green, so you might consider entering there. But this is really the one you should have entered on. And if you want, you can wait on the reversal pattern, which comes here. There's your failed second entry short, another bullish bar. So I like going long there. And that gets you into the 2 o'clock hour. So this was kind of late in the day. But at that point, you're really looking. Let me back out here a little bit. I would have measured this leg up. And from right here, I'm looking for a measured leg up. That'd be my target. We didn't get anywhere near that. Well, I shouldn't say we didn't get anywhere near it, but we didn't get there. But we got to 24.32, and this is maybe 24.35 or so. So we didn't miss it by much. We ran out of time more than anything. So we did get a break here and a move to a new high. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the overnight session. So not a bad trading day. Everything, like I said, the patterns worked out great as far as price action, but it was a little hard to read because it didn't do it in the time frame you would normally expect everything to work out. It took longer than you would expect to make this new low after a move that strongly down. So I hope that makes sense. When you get a move that strong, most of the time you're going to get a new low, and we did even today. But it took a while, and we only got one low by one tick, and then the sellers finally gave up, and it's all buying from that point on, really. And you had this little sell-off here. Again, you've tested this breakout, pretty much a 50% move. It's a failed breakout of here. So there's a lot of people guessing in here that maybe we're going to go lower and maybe make another leg down. And, you know, if you could catch a move like that, here's your first leg. And so if you catch a leg down from right there, you're looking at a healthy move, you know, 24.10 to 24.29. You know, that's a nice move. And if you can catch that, you've got a great day. So, and that's what people are looking at right there, because that's that's generally how price action will act. Just like yesterday, we came back and had we had a little more than a 50% correction. Then you got your next. This was your first leg down. Here's your correction and your next leg down. The day before that, it was just the opposite. Here's your first leg up. Here's your correction, and then there's your next leg up. And this stuff is so predictable. The key is being able to understand when it's starting its new leg or when it's finished its correction, and that's why we use the shorter term stuff. So, pretty good lesson today. Hopefully it was helpful to some of you, but I'm going to wrap it up. We're done for the week. I can't believe we've already been back and had a full week of trading. I don't know where the time's going, but no trading, no chart lesson tomorrow. We'll be back again to do it Monday. I'm done for the week and for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.